Nestlé's 9-year wait for the 2-minute anytime Maggi noodles we so love. The Consumer Redressal Court has dismissed the complaint by the centre against Nestlé for lack of evidence. But does this mean yours and my plate of Maggi is safe to consume? Yes, the court has said there has been no evidence against it. But let's find out and look at the order very closely. Now, what happened before the National Consumer Disputes Redressal Commission? Justice A.P. Shah said once the scientific analysis and the clarifications issued by the government itself do not and have not indicted the opposite party, that's Nestlé, there is no material to support the allegations made in the complaint for proceeding any further. That's important. Now, what is this scientific analysis they are talking about? And remember, it's just the fact that there was no scientific evidence found. Now, what is the scientific evidence? In 2016, Nestlé had made a public release that all 29 of their samples tested by the Central Food Technological Research Institute had been cleared. All 29 samples of Maggi noodles, the initial 13 and subsequent 16 samples were collected by relevant authorities and they were tested. This, by the way, was ordered by the Supreme Court, if you remember. Samples were tested for lead as well as taste enhancer MSG. But before we proceed, here's the hitch. As per the FSSAI guidelines at that time, MSG cannot be added to pasta and noodles. However, no guidelines currently exist for the maximum limit of naturally occurring MSG in food. And why is this important? Because here's where the argument won in court. And it's very interesting to note. The lawyer for Nestlé, Hari Salve, as per the CFTRI report, said the presence of MSG was dependent on various factors, including the naturally present glutamic acid and also the contents of the food product. He highlighted that the laboratory itself had clarified that in the absence of any analytical method to distinguish between the naturally present glutamic acid and added MSG, the institute could not render any opinion regarding the label claim of no added MSG. This is a huge part of the clause, is the crux on the basis of which this argument has been won by Hari Salve, who was representing, and the other lawyers who were representing Nestlé in this particular case. So remember, it's also a methodological challenge where you cannot really differentiate between the naturally present glutamic acid as well as the added MSG. So the lab said we had no way of proving this either ways. And this report by the lab was not challenged by the centre because obviously it was on a methodical ground. Now, this is the main crux of why the Commission dismissed the petition against Nestlé and its Maggi product. And Hari Salve, of course, pointed out that the report found that the lead content in the noodles were within permissible levels as well. Now, what did the government argue? According to Bar and Bench, Additional Solicitor General Vikramjit Banerjee contended that even if the report were assumed to be correct, the issue regarding monosodium glutamate, which, by the way, in India and elsewhere is also called as Ajinomoto, levels in the Maggi products remained. So this issue of MSG in Maggi remains. That's what the centre really claimed. And the centre claimed Nestlé had still engaged in deceptive labelling of its product. Also referred to the standards published by US Food and Drug Administration and a publication of Health in Canada to contend that the consumption of MSG is hazardous. But of course, this did not stand the test of legal scrutiny, and we explained to you the reasons why. So here are what the main issues that emerge. Do we have functional, strong watchdogs to check on the ingredients of packaged, processed food we consumed? Functional being the operative word here, quite frankly. What does lack of material evidence here mean? Is Maggi safe? Was it a case with weak evidence against allegations regarding Maggi, or was it a misspelled and unnecessary brouhaha? Is MSG safe? And if it isn't, why is there confusion on its safe limit? Is there a confusion, firstly? But the government's arguing against its presence at all. And is the Maggi row a India story gone wrong vis-a-vis branding, or Is it the weak, malleable laws with blind spots really that are an issue at this point?